guys, today's video is going to be all about towing. I'm going to talk about the maximum speeds that you can tow on these skis, and what you can do to kind of protect your ski when you're getting it towed, just so you can tow a little bit faster, or you just don't have to worry about it at all. So for those of you that are aware, if you're getting your Sea-Doo towed, if you break down or something, there is a maximum speed limit that you can be towed at. And I talked about this in another video, but I'm going to go in detail here. Because these are jet-driven machines that have an exhaust system that's raw water cooled. And that means when you are normally riding the ski and the jet pump is operating, it's pumping water through the exhaust system to cool down the ski. And it does that through this piece here on the jet pump. So you would normally have your impeller here. The impeller is pumping water this way, and as the water is getting pumped, it will find its way into that intake valve here, which will then, of course, pump water through this system here and into the ski. And it will come into the ski through that hose right there that my flashlight's on, right on top of the bilge pump. And that hose comes through the hole in the back where the jet pump feeds the water, goes through that hole hose and goes into the intake manifold, which is where it provides water cooling for the exhaust system. The reason you cannot be towed over a certain speed, and I believe for most skis it's around 5 to 10 miles an hour, is because there's no exhaust back pressure running on the engine to prevent all of that water that's being forced in to keep it out. So when your ski is being towed, there's obviously still going to be water that's passing through your jet pump, which means it's still going to be passing water through here. There's still going to be water coming through the intake hose, and there's still going to be water that's being forced into the exhaust manifold. But since the exhaust is water cooled, you can fill up all of your exhaust components, you can fill up the water box, you can backfeed water back in, and then since your exhaust manifold is open to the engine, you can then force water into the engine. It's for the very same reason why when you're flushing your ski, you should never run the hose when the engine is off, because you can backfeed water into the engine. So that's why Sea-Doo has a towing speed limit. But there are things you can do to basically shut off the supply water to your exhaust system, and then you can basically be towed at whatever speed you want. So I'm going to show you this diagram here. This is and I'm not sure how good this is going to come up on video, so I will put a graphic. But this just shows the raw water flow of the ski. So the ski has its own cooling system that is simply for the engine alone, that has nothing to do with the exhaust. A lot of people get that confused. They think that just because the ski is closed loop cooling with its own coolant, that means that everything is. That's not the case. The exhaust system and the intercooler, they are still raw water cooled. So you can see from this diagram, this is just showing the different water hoses. And you'll notice this one here, this is indicating water in. So you see that hose, that's the hose I just lit up with the flashlight, is going to the front of the exhaust manifold. That's your exhaust manifold there, where it'll pass through, and it's kind of like a double tube design where you have the exhaust gases that are passing through. That's sealed off, and then on the outside of that is like a really small, like, kind of passage where the water will pass through, and that's what keeps the manifold cool. And then of course that goes off into the water box. So the problem there is once your exhaust dumps off into the water box, and this is your water box. It's just that giant silver thing. It's basically just a hollow chamber. So the exhaust and the water that gets dumped out will pass into that box. And once that water box fills up with water, it's just going to feed water back into the exhaust manifold and dump it straight into your engine. It's not good. I've seen a lot of skis that got ruined that way. I think last year I worked on 6 or 7 skis that were towed back because they sucked something up and they weren't aware of the towing speed limit, and of course their engine took on a lot of water. It's not the end of the world. It can certainly be fixed. You can drain the engine, pump out the water, get anything that's out of the spark plugs, drain the valves, whatever, and then you're usually good to go. But if you're not aware of it, or if you get your ski towed back, you put it on the trailer, you're like, I'll deal with it another day. That's where you can run into a lot of problems. So there are solutions, and really all it comes down to is just capping this line here, either with a valve, or you can use vice grips, or there's even something, I forget what it's called now, but I'll post a link and put a picture, where you can actually just twist a valve here to shut off the raw water supply. And that's pretty much all you would need to do. So if you want to put a toe tap in, that's what people call it, it's just a toe tap. It's really just a shutoff valve, and you can buy the shutoff valves at pretty much any store, Home Depot, Lowe's, any home store. It's just a 3/4 inch hose, so essentially you would just get a kind of like a brass fitting or plastic fitting, whatever you would want to use. Cut this hose in half, put the fitting on, and then use hose clamps to put it back on, just so it doesn't pop off or anything. So if you ever need to get towed, you would just kind of reach in and shut that valve. The problem is a lot of these newer skis have, you have your rear access engine cover here, and there's no way you're going to reach down and grab that hose in a emergency. It's just, you can't access it. It's very hard to get to. But if you remember here, this shows that the water is coming into the front of the intake manifold. The front of the intake manifold we can get to. That's right up here. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can just barely see the front of the hose right here. So what a lot of people will do is they'll pop off the hose connection there, and then they'll put on a small extension hose, just like the one here, and then they'll put the shutoff valve on this instead. So essentially we would just extend the hose, bring it up slightly so we can have a shutoff valve, and then put this back into the exhaust manifold. That way there's an easy way to get to a shutoff valve in this region. The other thing you can do is carry vice clamp with you. So if you're out in the water, this is probably the right size, you would just kind of pinch that hose shut, restricts the water flow, and now you can get towed at any speed you want. But I think the easiest for most people would be to, it's kind of pricey, unfortunately, would be to get that shutoff valve, because then you don't have to, there's no cutting or splicing anything in here. You can actually change this without taking the pump off of the ski. You can do it within the ski, which makes it very easy. And I'll post a link for it as well. I forget who sells it, but it was kind of very handy. So if you are in a situation where you need to get towed, all you need to do is kind of just reach over the back deck here, reach in, you twist that valve, and now you can get towed at any speed you want. It's absolutely not necessary to have any of these things. You don't need a toe tap, you don't need the shutoff valve. As long as you're getting towed at slow speeds, you'll be perfectly fine. This is more for people that are looking for, if you're fishing 10-15 miles offshore, or if you tend to go farther distances and you have friends with you that you can rely on to tow you back if you need to. You know that getting towed at 5 to 10 miles an hour takes a significantly longer amount of time than if you could just get towed back at full speed. Or worst case scenario, you're getting towed by Sea Tow or Boat US or whatever, or someone else's boat. They're not just going to tow you at 5 miles an hour just because you don't want to flood your engine. They're trying to get you back to where you need to be. So this will take care of a lot of that headache. The other thing that I thought was pretty crafty, I've seen someone do before, was to get a surface mount shutoff valve, and they put it either here or they put it onto the engine access cover, and it's just like a butterfly valve almost. So it's more utilitarian, doesn't look as clean, but if you're going offshore fishing or you have the Explorer or whatever, you just want everything to be as easy as possible. I've seen people cut that hose basically. They use an extension just like this, so they'll extend the hose to come upwards just like this, and they'll put a surface mount shutoff valve, so you still have the hose connections going on through the back, but the valve is on the front. And then that way, if there's ever an emergency, all they need to do is shut the water supply off, and they can get towed at any speed. The universal thing, or the warning I want to give though, is if you have any of these systems, if you have the tap that goes into the jet pump, if you have the surface mount, if you have the vice grips or whatever, is you have to make sure that you release it or you allow water flow when the ski is good to go again. Because I worked on a ski not this past year, the year before, where someone did have a toe tap. They had a valve and it was right in the back, so it was right down here, just like I pointed to earlier, because that's the easiest spot to install it. They were getting towed, so they had it shut off. Brought it back. I worked on it for them. They had it for about a week, but they forgot to turn the valve back on. So when they had to go riding, they went riding for a few seconds, and then of course they got the high exhaust temperature warning. Wasn't the end of the world. They burned up a few couplers and stuff like that, but it wasn't too terrible. So I personally do not run a toe tap. It's easy enough for me. The area where I ride is generally pretty close, so if I have to get towed, we're cognizant of the speed limit, 5 to 10 miles an hour. And of course, I always check the engine just to make sure I didn't take on any water the next time I started. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just let me know, and I will get back to you as fast as I can.